Week 12 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few quarterbacks I have as sleeper options this week. The first guy, Jake Browning of the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow out for the season now with the wrist injury, and Jake Browning going to take over as the starting quarterback for this Cincinnati Bengal team. So obviously good weapons still, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins in the lineup, Tyler Boyd as well, Joe Mixon out of the backfield. Browning came in relief for Joe Burrow after he got hurt right before halftime, and it was not a great performance, but he still went out there. He was taking some deep shots, and he wasn't scared to throw the football. 68 pass yards, a touchdown, and then 40 rush yards. So right now he showed some wheels as Jake Browning, available in tons of fantasy leagues in 93%. And I know it's a tougher matchup versus Pittsburgh, but if you're in a two-quarterback league or a pinch with injuries, I think Jake Browning could possibly surprise people and have a decent outing this week as a sleeper. Next quarterback's Tommy DeVito of the New York Giants. I mentioned DeVito last week as a sleeper option, and he hit with a big ball game, 246 pass yards, 3 touchdowns, and 7 rush yards. So this week I know it's a tougher matchup versus the Patriots, but Tommy DeVito, he's at least gone out there the last 2 weeks and put up numbers for a guy that they were scared to throw the football in Week 8 versus the Jets, and even Week 9 in Vegas couldn't do much. But the last 2 weeks, 17 or more fantasy points, 28 points last week. I know this week versus New England, they give up the 11th least amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season, but at least DeVito, he's showing something over here for this Giant team. Daniel Jones really didn't do much this season, and DeVito, in deeper leagues, if you need a quarterback, available as well in tons of leagues at 96%. And the third and final quarterback I have as a sleeper, Gard Muu. Third and final quarterback I have as a sleeper this week, Gard Muu of the Indianapolis Colts. Gardner Minshew, he's been a solid backup this season, coming in for Anthony Richardson early in the year, and he's had some big fantasy games. I know the last 2 weeks he hasn't done much. Week 9 at Carolina, 127 pass yards, a touchdown, 5 rushing, and then Week 10 at Germany versus the Patriots, 192 pass yards, an interception in that one. But right now, a good matchup, Week 12, coming off a bye week. Colts at home versus the Bucs. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And we saw last week they got torched by Brock Purdy with this Buc defense. So right now, Gardner Minshew out there in tons of fantasy leagues at 86%. If you need a sleeper option, I think he could provide a decent ball game. So that's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers for Week 12 of the fantasy football season.